So I hope you're convinced by this point that this is something that it's important to pay attention to. Here's just a small sampling of headlines that you have probably seen. You've probably seen at least some of these over the past decade or so. But everything from the Veterans Administration to Sony to Garmin that I mentioned earlier, Clearview AI, pick your organization, Marriott. There have been some major data breaches that have been results of cyber attacks in the past decade, and it's a major issue for big companies. It's a major issue for small companies. So the reality of the modern attack. What does that look like, Jeremy?
When we're talking about the modern attack, what you're seeing there in that image is the inside of the Google data centers in Belgium, right? Frankly, some of the top engineers that we correspond with on a daily basis don't even have access to these facilities. And it starts even at the home office in the small business with the very same way that you would keep yourself personally safe. Disregard computers, disregard information systems. Physical access is probably the most important aspect of a physical attack. Prior to working with Cyderis, I was involved specifically with banks, right, in performing red team services, where I was on a team of operators that would go in and physically infiltrate facilities, right, like jamming IR sensors with microwaves and J-tagging hardware and literally using an upside down spray can of duster to disengage a magnetic lock on a door so we could move into, it works surprisingly well, by the way, but a magnetic lock on a door to infiltrate, to be able to plug something into a network tap to then be able to dial out. It's about physical access. Most attacks occur as a result of ease of access to the environment initially. There are, of course, network attacks. It happens. But there are massive communities out there on the dark web, specifically out on Tor nodes, which, by the way, Tor is free, and access to the Tor network is completely free as well and highly anonymous. And just because it is the dark web or the deep web, if I was to take a piece of paper, and this is a personal stance, and I'll get back to the reality of the modern attack, but if I took a piece of paper and I rolled it up and I put a wax stamp on it and I handed it to Brian, it does not make it illegal. Privacy on the internet is deserved, right? It is. We should not be surveilled in terms of what is taking place between our communications, especially if there's nothing negative going on. But physical access is key. Visibility to data is key. There are large-scale bot-driven attacks on modern infrastructure that are occurring continuously. There are massive botnets out there that are continuously scanning for vulnerabilities across US-based infrastructure, North American infrastructure, globally, really, and reporting those vulnerabilities back to command and control centers in an automated capacity. What we see is most of that stuff that's ripped from the headlines, these are targeted attacks. These organizations have low-hanging fruit, they have unsecured portals, they have web infrastructure or customer-facing web-based infrastructure that are openly accessible. And an attacker is not going to spend a tremendous amount of time because they have limited resources. Even a small business may spend $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 annually for technology to empower the growth of the business. An attacker or a script kiddie does not have those kinds of resources to attack. So they look for the things that they can find, very easy to infiltrate, that they can spend $10 in Bitcoin on and get a piece of script that will infiltrate that vulnerability, hoping that they can download some information and sell it to buy their next Big Mac. If you can tell, I don't really like the script kiddies very much. But anyway, incidents occur as a result of human error, and it is often not malicious human error. We are humans, we intrinsically trust, and so we get phished. And then unbeknownst to us in most cases, over the course of an elongated period of time, these attacks take place. They tend to expand and grow. Sometimes they're rooted out by critical infrastructure or layered security controls in reference to defense in depth. But most of the time, right, we're finding that standard tool sets, when they're no longer useful, are not sunset across a small business or a mid-sized business. You continue to rely on that technology instead of reevaluating your posture. There may be cheaper and better ways to do things instead of continuing with a tool or infrastructure that is now outdated or considered to be on the low end of that quadrant in usefulness. So modernize and evolve your tools, constantly evaluate your defensive posture, at least annually. Look at that risk posture, and then understand how attackers and what attackers are going for within your business.
Yep. Great points, Jeremy. And just to highlight another one of them and link it back to one of Jeremy's previous points, Jeremy was saying there might be better tools out there, more modern tools, easier and potentially even cheaper tools than what you're using right now if you have legacy systems. So if you're looking at the perspective, looking at your business from the perspective of future growth, strategically, it may make sense for you to use those tools to be able to continue to grow. And at the same time, those exact same tools often may be more useful for you to better implement security in your organization at the exact same time.